All right. So how do we create content? So I'm going to show you 3 ways how the e-learning content can typically be built. And before we go there, I would like to point out a few things which we need to address before we actually build a course. So the first thing with which we should start, at least in our experience, is we need to understand the aim of the course. And we need to understand what we want to achieve, and we want to be as specific as possible. An example of a good aim. We had a client who was a gaming company. They were producing these games which you play on a mobile phone, like all of these kind of time waste games, basically. And they were a very big gaming company. They had about 100 million users and 2,300 support people in China, Japan, and South Korea alone. And of course, they had more in other regions. And of course, if you have 100 million users, you have a lot of support tickets, right? And one of the typical support tickets they were getting is that some players were being logged out of their accounts, out of their games, and they wanted to get back in. And for some reason they couldn't. And then they asked the gaming company to verify them and allow them to log in. So the support people had to understand if this request to get access to the game again was a valid one or is it a fraud, because there were some fraudsters there too. And so the aim of the course was to train the support people how to really understand if this is a valid request or it's a fraud. And the specific task and aim, what we defined was that we would like to have 7% less time on ticket. So time the support person spends on researching and answering the ticket, 7% less, and 5% better user rating. So the rating at which the user rates the support person. Why is this a good measure? First of all, it's really easy to say if it has been achieved or not, because it's numbers, and they can measure it. So they can see what is the time that usually a support person on average spent on ticket before the course and after the course. And they can also see the satisfaction rate of the users with the support they got. Because after every ticket, they will ask the player, how did they rate the support? So that's why it's a good example, I think, at least in my opinion. So regarding the aims of your courses, I think if you can be specific, that's always very good. So if you can, please be specific, and numbers are good in this case, because then you can see if you have achieved the aim of the course or not. And it can also help you maybe build the next courses, because it will be an easier buy-in from management, because they will be able to see, okay, we had this aim, we achieved it, that's great. So we'll probably achieve it next time too, maybe, we'll see. So first is aim. Second is audience. So you need to think about who is your audience, and what are their previous education skills, what is their computer literacy, access to technology. About 4 years ago, we had a course, or not a course, actually games. We needed to create educational games for a cable engineer company. So they had engineers all over the United States of America, and they were using their own smartphones to access those games, educational games. And so we had to build games that had very little screen resolution, so that any smartphone could, handle it. And games that also were in small file size. So because the engineers were, spread out throughout the country, and sometimes the mobile connectivity and the bandwidth wasn't very good. So they had to be small in terms of file size. Second thing is accessibility. This is a very big trend last couple of years, which we see is that you need to create courses that are accessible for handicapped people, so that's a very big thing. There are these WCAG guidelines, I believe they're called, and there are lots of authoring tools who are trying to comply with them, and lots of courses that are built that are trying to comply with them. Yeah, so what I want to say is that we try to comply as much as possible, but not always it's possible. Not always you can comply 100%. But accessibility is all about having, screen read, so that the course can be read, for example, by screen reader, that the color contrast is good enough so people with maybe seeing or disability can still see the content on screen and other stuff, so that you would be able to deliver a course also to people with disabilities. Another example is audio capabilities in terms of technology. We had a case with insurance company which didn't allow us to build a course with audio narration, because the course was meant for people who are working at the front desk, so people working at the branches. And they felt that if people will put the earphones on and do the training, the customers will get angry, because the customers will think that they are not working and that the employees are just listening to music, for example. And so that was a limitation there. Another thing about audience, you need to think about design preferences. What are people used to? Like, is it more corporate style? Is it more playful style? Some people like instructional illustrated characters, some don't. So it's really, you need to see what's the audience. And of course, age and other background is very important to tailor your course to the audience you're working for. So I always try to get as much background information as you can. Okay, so where were we? So we had aims, then we had the audience. Then third thing, which is also very important, which I would like to stress, is that we need to understand if the course is going to be responsive or non-responsive. And on the left-hand side, you can see a course which is responsive. It means that the course rearranges objects depending on the screen size. So if you have a smaller screen size, it will move the objects like this, and maybe make the text size bigger for easier reading. Non-responsive course also can be viewed on mobile phones and mobile devices. Basically, all courses nowadays can be viewed on mobile devices, but it will be what we would call adaptive. It means that it will shrink or expand depending on the screen size. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it's usually not a big problem if the phone is held horizontally. Unfortunately, it's a bit more difficult to read if the phone is held vertically. So responsive is what people usually prefer, but there is one issue, and why people are still not building all their courses responsive, and the difference. And that's because of the cost. So at least in our experience, the difference between the left-hand side and right-hand side is 50% of cost. So this one costs more because you need to adjust for several screens, and it's more time-consuming to build courses that are responsive. We had a case now with one large US company, which we have built dozens of courses for them, and they started with responsive because that's the way to go, right? Responsive is a new thing. And then they did analysis that in their LMS, 0.5% people were accessing the courses on mobile phones, 0.5%. And then they made a decision to move to non-responsive courses because it was way cheaper and way faster to roll out courses. And because they just said, okay, if it's 0.5%, let's not, delay everything just because of that. And yeah, that was their decision. So it's everybody's decision. Finally, so three things: aims, audience, and then if it's a responsive or non-responsive. Once we know this, we are ready to start working on scripts. Some people call it storyboards, some people call it manuscripts. It doesn't matter, we call it all those words. We distinguish between two types of scripts. One is on the left-hand side. You can see post-it notes here. It's an image from our office. This is actually our post-it notes. We worked on a course, I think it was negotiation skills or something like that. And what we do with the post-it notes, we write down page names. So for example, a course might have a welcome page. So we write welcome, put a post-it note on the wall. Then it might have aims. So you say, why is this course needed and what will the learner gain from this course? So that's second page. Then maybe you'll have a theory page. So we put a theory, bam, on the wall. Or maybe you'll have a quiz or test or some interactive exercise. You put it as number 4. And you don't write more details, just this page names. And then once you have done it, you can easily map your content and you can rearrange it and move it around. And if you can see how the content flows. And if it flows naturally, and it feels okay, then that's perfect. If it doesn't flow, then you can rearrange the content the way you like and adjust it. And the second, once you have this flow ready and you feel like this is logical, you know, like how the storyboard works, you should show it to your client or your subject matter expert or for approval. And once it's approved, then you can start working on a detailed script or detailed storyboard. And this is where you write all the texts in. You write the text that will be on screen, that will be texts on click, maybe the feedback texts. You add the images. You either describe the images if you don't have them yet, or you maybe add actual images. But in this detailed script, you add as much information as possible. And basically, all of the text should be in this script. And this is a very, very important document that you should also send for approval to your client or your subject matter expert. And only once this is ready and this is signed off, only then you should proceed with the development. At least that's our suggestion and experience. Now, when we have the script ready, we can move to the actual course development, right? And in the beginning of the presentation, I promised you three ways how to create e-learning content. So we're going to go to those now. First is course development from scratch. Historically, like 10, 15 years ago, lots of courses were created by coding. You can still create courses by writing lines of code in JavaScript, Adapt, or any other tools or frameworks. The downside of this is it takes a lot of time. Like a ballpark figure, at least in our experience, is that to create a one hour e-learning by coding from scratch takes about 200 hours in development. So that's a lot of time. Just the development time, not the scripting. Then second option is you can use some of the e-learning authoring tools, right? Authoring tools, this is a very bad comparison, and I try to avoid it if possible. But authoring tools are like you could say, for people who have just entered the e-learning industry, you could say that authoring tools are somewhat like advanced PowerPoints. That's not a very good way to describe it, and please don't quote me on this. But basically, they give you a more visual way of creating stuff. You don't need to write any code. You can drag and drop, add actions, triggers, etc., and make interactive content without writing a line of code. And authoring tools also allow you to publish for SCORM and other standards, so that your LMS would later understand your course and would see who has done it and when and where. Remember, we talked about this. But the bad part about the authoring tools is that you start with blank page. You would still need to design and program the course. Here are some of the authoring tools that are very popular. I would say the Articulate Storyline and Rise is currently, at least in our feeling, it's the market leader. Adobe Captivate is second. About a year ago, I think they were both on the same level. This year, it seems like the Storyline Rise has grown a bit higher, but maybe that's just subjective feeling. Trivantis Lectora was a strong third before. Now they're a bit falling behind. You could put them in the second column. But yeah, so these are the top three, at least in our opinion. There are very, very good others, like iSpring, Domino, Adapt, Gomo, Evolve, Elucida. You can check them out. They are very good tools. Yeah, so about the tools. So if you say course development from scratch was 200 hours for 1 hour of e-learning, if you create with authoring tools 1 hour of e-learning, at least in our opinion, it's about 60 hours for the development. Then the third way and last way, which we are going to talk about today, is course development with templates. There are lots of template providers out there. The big advantage is that the design and functionality is there. You can choose the template you like, and you can save time on your designing and functionality of a page. So just to give you an example. So for example, if you start from scratch and you need to create a glossary page, glossary with maybe 30 letters or 30 objects, and that you can click on each, and then there's a new click and reveal type of page is shown. Typically in an authoring tool, it can take you up to 2 days to create one page. And in template, you can just take the template and use it. And usually that's big time saver. And my feeling is that we all actually are using templates, we like it or not, because you don't need to buy templates. You can just start creating your courses in authoring tools from scratch. And once you have done maybe 3 or 4 courses, you will have content that you can reuse for your next courses. And you would have eventually have created your own template that you can use for your next courses. So I believe the templates is the fastest, the cheapest way of producing e-learning, and I think we all are doing it, like it or not. Either you buy it commercially, or you from someone else, or you create your own template, but you would still use it. The downside of the template is that it limits you, because it's kind of you can't do whatever. You need to use a template, and there are some limitations. Sometimes it's good when you have a subject matter experts who are just going crazy all over the place, and you really want to put them in some kind of box. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you want those creative juices flowing, and you really want to create something amazing, some new games or interactivity or whatever. And if you don't have such template, then of course you need to create something from scratch. So there are, of course, both positives and negatives to the templates. Bam! We have almost reached the end. So this is my suggestion for sources of inspiration and further research. I'm a big fan of our Articulate community. I'm in no way related to Articulate. We are also following Lectora community and Captivate community. We are active there too. But Articulate community, in my opinion, is a great resource for all kind of knowledge. There are lots of people who are very active, asking questions, answering questions, etc. It's not only about Articulate products; it's about discussing how to build better courses. So it's a good source of inspiration, and also design inspiration. People put their templates and courses there, and you can check it out and maybe gain some inspiration for your courses. Then there are LinkedIn e-learning groups. You can find them quite easily. That's not a big issue. They're pretty good. There are some people I follow and I suggest. This is Tom Kuhlman and David Anderson. They work for Articulate. But then there is Mel Milloway, Kat Ellis, and Pug, who are just e-learning developers. Very, very talented people, I believe. And they put great stuff on LinkedIn. So I suggest following them. There is an organization called eLearning Network, and Faster Courses is a sponsor and industry partner to them. They're UK based, so if you're in UK, I suggest to join them. They are a really good organization. We were in a conference last year in November in London. I think it was the best conference I have been, or one of the best in terms of level of content. Very, very good, very high level insights, very, very interesting. And they do webinars now too, so it's pretty good. Then eLearning Industry is a website that writes about everything, and usually it's too broad and not very specific. But if you're just beginner and you want to start out somewhere, it's a good resource in my opinion. And then also Faster Course, we write blogs, and some of them are pretty good, so you can follow those too. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.